beautiful, what day of the week is it? Wednesday evening. I do that a lot, you guys, but I seriously never know what day it is usually. Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock. Got my Yana shirt on. You are not alone. It's a good shirt. Larry's organization. They do a good job. So I got a couple things I want to go over with you. Case 3 was filed today. We're waiting for all that information to get processed. We filed the case in Effingham County, same county where the first one was filed. There's a procedural reason for that it was filed in the same county. It'll all start making sense to you guys here in the coming days. There's always a plan to deal with these big issues, okay? So you can't just go out here and do this stuff willy-nilly. You have to actually plot it out and make sure that it makes sense. So we will have a path forward on the restraining order in case 3 here real soon, okay? So that's that. It's all been filed. Anybody that's a client that's actually a named plaintiff in that case would have received an email by now letting you know the status of that, okay? You guys, all of you get an email from Ryan letting you know every step of the way what we're doing. As you guys know, case 2 is on its way in case 1 as well. We submitted a bunch of, and I can tell you guys that much, we've submitted a bunch of discovery requests and subpoenas. We sent subpoenas to every one of the House and Senate sponsors, asking them for information that we think is relevant to your case. We also sent discovery requests to Speaker Welch, Senate President Harmon, and the governor, asking them for questions. We sent subpoenas to the people that do training for law enforcement and Department of Corrections across the state, asking them for information about their training programs. We're really digging into getting to an ultimate resolution that this bill violates equal protection and ultimately violates the constitutional procedural requirements of at least the 3 readings law, okay? That's where we're going with this. Guardians of Galaxy, that's funny, Jeremy. As to the Guardians of Liberty, Ryan's dealing with that. He's been busy putting together the documents for getting the case 3 sorted out, but that'll be coming, Jeremy, okay? And I've sent out some emails to the gun FFLs that I represent, keeping in mind that you men and women are my clients. I represent you. You have a lawyer, okay? So when I send an email to you, I'm corresponding with what's going on, keeping you up to date because you actually have legal representation. That's what you hired me for. There was an order issued today out of Macon County on a case that is not something that I filed on behalf of anyone. That case was filed by really 3 plaintiffs: State Representative Dan Calkins, another gentleman whose name escapes me, and a jewelry store, which I'm assuming is an FFL. And then there was this, you guys have known about it, this list of the law-abiding gun owners of Macon County. And you guys, and there's been people ask me, Tom, why are you talking about that? And my answer to them is, I only talk about things for one reason, because it's something that impacts my clients, right? If it's not impacting my clients, I don't usually talk about it because I don't care. I mean, I might care, but why would I talk about it? I don't talk about these things because of some politician that I like or dislike. I generally don't like any of them. But I don't talk about these things just because I feel like it for political reasons. And when legal issues in a courtroom start turning into political issues like head on, that's a problem in and of itself, right? So, I don't just talk about the Macon County case because it just gives me something to do. I'm talking about it because it's important as it relates to the ultimate issue, which is invalidating House Bill 5471 in its totality. That's the only thing I care about. And you should ask yourself, okay, if Tom's talking about that, then it's probably important, because I'm not going to talk about it just because I care about talking about it. It's not how I am, and people that know me understand that, okay? So there's been, for every 100 people that message me after they say, I appreciate you explaining this issue to me out of Macon County, You get one or two of them that are mad because all of a sudden they think I'm picking on some politician, right? And that's okay. I don't care. But I just want you guys to be clear. I'm not picking on a politician. I don't care about what those politicians do. They can do whatever they want. But when it starts impacting people that I'm representing and people that I'm trying to be successful in winning an argument for them, I take that very seriously. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican establishment person who, again, you guys have heard that before. I'm no fan of Jim Durkin, right? And I've made that clear. And I'm not going to be a fan of any what I'll call further right or conservative politician if they're doing things that need to be criticized. So let me give you guys an example because I really want you to understand. Let me jump in for a second. We need a statewide TRO. Warsaw, I understand what you're saying, but it's not possible anytime soon. So again, I'll get to statewide TRO in a second, but it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen until maybe we get something out of the federal court down the road, but federal courts move real slow. Again, the chances of a judge in a state court in Illinois issuing a statewide TR is so close to zero, it's probably zero. Okay. So getting back to where I was at on that, we have to get to the end. We want to get rid of this House Bill 5471, wipe it out. Okay. And the state court issues that have been raised by us, I can tell you they probably didn't see that coming. They just thought this would be in the federal court on the Second Amendment issues, and 2 or 3 years down the road, it might get resolved in favor of the citizens of Illinois or not. But by that time, people have moved on to a different issue. Maybe the governor is president or run for president. But you know what? It's a little bit different now because you have these state court issues that move a lot quicker. And that's a good thing. So anything that might cause that complication or alter the path of that, I'm going to speak about. And I don't care who likes it, okay? So again, let's go back for a little bit. No, Rick, there's not going to be a case for. Go back a little bit. Remember when all the COVID days, back in the COVID days, where we were fighting the mandates of Governor Pritzker, right? We were fighting the mandates. And there were people in Illinois who didn't like that we were fighting the mandates. They thought that was a bad thing. And people didn't like the mandates, were just cheering on, going, go, 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 go. Okay. We eventually got rid of those. Well, then here comes the election. And then you got what we'll call establishment Republicans. You guys know who, I'm not going to say anybody's names, who are doing things that I don't think are in the best interest of overall the Republican constituency of Illinois. And so I start speaking out about things that they're doing that I think is inappropriate. I don't attack them personally, start calling them names. I just say these things they're doing, I don't agree with. And people were like, yeah, that's great, Tom, and we agree with you. There would be establishment Republicans call me going, Tom, well, we shouldn't be talking about other Republicans, and we, all need to be one big happy group. And, we need to just kind of have those conversations behind the scenes. And I'm the kind of guy that says, you know what? I think the public ought to be involved in all these conversations. I think that's healthy. I'm not one of those let's talk about it behind the scenes type of guys. And if that means some of you don't like me, I'm okay with that. If that means some of you don't think I'm going to be a good politician if I ever am one, I'm okay with that. It all needs to be right out in the open. We all need to openly question what's going on when politicians do things, whether they're a Democrat, whether they're a conservative rhino Republican, whether they're a grassroots far-right Republican. We need to have those same conversations. And so back during a long time ago when I was calling out Jim Durkin and people like that, let's call them the far right Republicans were like, yeah, Tom, you need to tell him exactly. That's not right. And I'm going, okay, well, that's fine. But now that I'm at least having a conversation about a decision that a particular, let's call further right than the establishment Republican, well, they're calling me now mad because I'm talking about it. But you shouldn't be talking about it. And I'm going, why? Can I not point out that someone's doing something that's probably not wise? Why is that wrong? And I don't like that hypocrisy. I just don't like it. Are we going to accept as people that when a politician does something that is questionable, judgment wise, that we got to figure out what group they're in before we talk about them, before we raise those issues? Is that how we're going to operate? Because if that's how we're going to operate, I'm not interested in any of that crap. Right? It's just not how it's not how I'm cut. You know, when I have people, whether I'm an attorney representing people or whether I would be a politician representing people, I am going to fight for them to the end. And whoever gets in the way is going to have a fight with me, because it's my job to protect the people I represent. And if that means you're going to cause an issue, you're going to hear about it. I think that's a good thing. You guys may disagree with me, and that's okay. But that's what I think. All right. So getting to this case in Macon County, I got it, because again, I've been getting dozens and dozens of messages from people asking me about this issue. Right. I don't reach out to them. I don't call and say, hey, I'm going to talk about the Macon County case. Anybody want me to talk about? They're calling me and they're messaging me, asking me to just give it to you straight. And I'm going to give it to you straight. I don't care who likes it. And it's not being critical of anybody as a person, whether somebody's a good person or a bad person. I don't judge people based on good or bad. I judge on, did they make a wise choice or not? And if I make a choice that's not wise, and anybody who wants to criticize me, I'm not going to attack you. I'm going to go, I disagree with you, and this is why. It seems to make sense. So anyway, when this case was going to be filed in Macon County, a lot of people wanted to join that case, right? They wanted to join the case. That's great. It would have been perfectly awesome if 50,000 citizens in the state of Illinois joined that case. Outstanding. I don't care. I don't care. As a result of 1 million people joined that case, and they were actually in it. And as a result of all of that hard work, then the politician that you guys know who I'm talking about became president of the United States. I don't care. The only thing I care about is, does that effort further the issue of getting rid of House Bill 5471? Is it furthering that purpose? Because if the answer is yes, that's great. So it ended up coming to be that most of those people, almost all of them except one or two, didn't get made parties to that case. They weren't made parties. They were listed as some alleged members of some association that none of them had ever heard of, that none of them ever agreed to join, that none of them knew anything about. They just wanted to join a case, and instead they get listed as a member of some association. Not all of them, because people had actually reached out to me that had contributed resources and money that never made it to the list, but that's a secondary issue. So then this issue goes in front of the court, and the Attorney General's office has to make a decision on how to deal with that, right? What fights do they want to fight? Because they're asking for a restraining order. At one point in time, there was a conversation that they were going to ask for a restraining order for every FOID card holder in the state of Illinois. Remember that? Well, it didn't happen. They didn't end up asking for that, because I'm assuming the attorney, who I have no reason to believe is anything but capable for the most part, didn't end up asking the judge for that, right? Didn't ask for a statewide. And again, I'm here to tell you that there is no legal authority in Illinois that I'm aware of that one or two people can file a case and just merely ask the judge to apply it statewide to any particular group of persons. I know of none. Never heard of it. I don't know any lawyer that would tell you they've ever heard of it. Okay? So there was an order issued by this judge that was unopposed by the Attorney General's office. It was unopposed, okay? And I'm going to read to you part of this. You guys still see my smiling face? Where did it go? I'm going to read to you part of what it said. It said the court had reviewed the plaintiff's proposed order. That was the plaintiff's proposed order. The court finds that the proposed order is unopposed by the defendants Pritzker and Raoul. So Governor Pritzker and Attorney General Raoul didn't oppose the proposed order. They just didn't say anything. And so the court entered that order without really getting into the weeds about the propriety of who is actually covered by this order or not, right? And whether or not this association that you guys have heard about was really an existing association. They don't get into that because, again, the Attorney General, for reasons that don't really matter at this point, chose not to pick that fight. And so the order gets entered and it gets done. So what does that mean for people that are asking me to explain what I believe it means? What I believe it means is that it has nothing to do with every Ford card holder in the state. And that's, again, that's a good thing, because I guarantee you that would have not went unopposed by the Attorney General's office and the governor. They absolutely would have fought that fight, okay? They would have fought that fight of some judge in one county trying to grant a blanket TRO statewide without some proper attempt at class certification. It would have little chance of succeeding. But there's a list of people attached to this thing that suggests that they may be members of this association that may or may not exist. And so to what extent what does it mean for them? Well, they're going to have to ask somebody what that means for them, because what's for certain is these people in this list have no legal representation. They're not represented by any attorney. This whole list of people that belong to this alleged association don't have an attorney. So what that order might mean to them, they're going to have to figure that out for themselves. Okay. So from my perspective, what I have to deal with is I don't know how many there are, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 and something FFL dealers in the state of Illinois who I actually do represent. Those are my clients. And so there may come a time where they are approached by someone listed in that Macon County case as an alleged member of this association. And should they sell a weapon to one of those alleged association members or not, based upon what's going on in that case? And I gave my opinion to those FFLs, and they'll choose to follow my advice or not follow my advice. But that issue of this association has done nothing but muck up the waters to us getting to the end of the resolution of invalidating House Bill 5471 in its totality, wiping it out. It's done nothing to further that. It's only cast a cloud upon one of the parties to this case, because what's ultimately going to happen is there likely will be a consolidation, which is fine. A consolidation of these four cases, the three were all, those of you listening who I'm your lawyer that you're in, and this Macon County case are likely going to get consolidated into one case. And then I've got to deal with defending and pursuing my client's rights, all the while we've got hanging out here on a limb this fiction that includes these, alleged members. And figuring out how to deal with that so it doesn't muck everything else up. So again, it doesn't further the agenda. That's the only reason I have talked about this issue. The only reason I've talked about it is because I have the desire to protect the people that I've been asked to protect. That's why I'm talking about it, okay? And not doing it to cast any stones on a politician. I don't care. Go be a politician. But when you make decisions that can harm people and cause them complications in defending their rights, I'm going to talk about it. Okay? I'm absolutely going to talk about it. So if, any of my clients, all of you who now have a restraining order entered in your favor by a state court, you go buy a weapon and you have a problem with the Illinois State Police, you're going to call me. And we're going to deal with that. I promise you. We'll deal with it. Because I'm your lawyer. If one of those individuals that's listed in this association tries to go buy a weapon and the Illinois State Police comes knocking on their door, who are they going to call? They can go find a new lawyer, but they don't have a lawyer right now that they can have help them. The only one in that case that has a lawyer really is Dan Calkins. I said his name. I said I wasn't going to, but you guys know what I'm talking about. It's like, so it's like creating a complication, and it just frustrates me to no end. Because again, I only want to solve and get this over with. Move on, get away from this gun grab that Governor Pritzker's trying to fight. It's my only agenda, you guys, I promise you. And if politicians want to call me and they want to chastise me and they want to go criticizing about things they don't understand about the law, then go right ahead. Any point in time, any day of the week, name the time, name the place. I'll stand on the stage or I'll get on social media with any of them and I will defend what we're trying to accomplish. Anytime, any place, all of them. But they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. I've got so many emails, I couldn't do it any other way. That's what's going on with that. That's why I'm talking about it. It's the only reason I talked about it. It's not trying to pick on anybody. I don't pick on people. I'm going to see if I got any questions and I'll try to answer them, okay? Let me see here, you guys. Elaine, can you fight the consolidation? I mean, I'm okay with the consolidation for the most part because I understood. I mean, there's a strategy that we're not going to talk about. I knew at some time there was a fair possibility that there might be a consolidation. I understood that was always likely. And even now today, it's really not the end of the world, other than we've got this cloud that I've got to make sure doesn't create issues. Because the legal issues that were raised in the Macon County case, they're fine. I mean, 90% of it is just a complete replication of what I filed anyway. I mean, it's almost identical, the footnotes and everything, and I'm okay with that. But it's, again, and it would have been fine if they would have listed the plaintiffs, whoever they were. Again, I told you before, 50,000 of them. I don't care. But just that cloud of, does this entity exist? And did it get formed? And it's going to create, when you're dealing with very important legal issues, there is a desire to, when the substance of what you're arguing is complicated, is you don't muck it up with procedural stuff because it takes away from the seriousness and the focus of the actual issues at hand. Does that make sense? And so when you really got to focus on the issues, you don't want to be caught and cascaded away dealing with procedural, you know what I'm going to say. It doesn't make any sense, you guys. Let me see here. Ryan, do you see any in there that I need to answer?
No, nothing.
Okay. Okay, let me look here again. Somebody's talking about the Illinois Supreme Court issuing a statewide thing. If you guys remember the Safety Act, once that case made it to the Supreme Court on a final ruling, the procedurally is completely different, so I'm trying to keep it clear for you. Once it got to the Supreme Court of the state of Illinois, they issued a statewide halt to the Safety Act. They have that power. They have a lot of power. They can do that. But that's not the same thing that we were talking about here in the court in Macon County. that judge can't just arbitrarily say, I'm going to create a statewide ban. It's not the same as the Supreme Court. So again, even though representative was saying that to you, they didn't. Not only did it not happen, they didn't even end up asking for it, because that would have been a problem. But that's confused a lot of people, because I've had at least 5 people today send me an email saying, Tom, now that that order was entered in Macon County, I can go do whatever I want, even though I'm not listed on any of the cases you filed or in that case, because the judge issued that statewide TRO like the representative said he was asking for, right? And I'm like, no, it didn't happen. So see, when you're talking about legal issues, you have to be very specific in your language. You can't conflate politics with legality, because people can, even though you might mean well, and I have no reason to believe the representative didn't mean well, you can cause a lot of problems when you start talking about things that you shouldn't be talking about. And again, if any of you think that me raising these issues is picking on somebody, then I'm sorry. That's just, you're going to have to think that way. I'm not picking on anybody. Let me see here. I just want to make sure that I don't miss any questions. Greg Vaughn, I just read your message. Send an email to Ryan and he'll answer that question for you, okay? Uh, all right, guys, I think that's about it. So, and people are just talking over the sideline. So that's the answer to that. As soon as I just get more, as soon as I get more information on case number 3, I'll pass that along to you. Uh, as soon as I get information on what any potential consolidation might be, I'll pass it along to you. Again, I don't see that as being a concern. We're just going to have to deal with making sure that as we move forward to get to a final ruling on this case, that we don't get caught up, quibbling and bickering about the propriety of some association. I just don't want that to be an issue that gets conflated with the real issues that we have. So, again, for now, it doesn't appear that the Attorney General's office has made a choice to quibble about that, likely because regardless of those alleged members of an association, between the cases that we've actually done, we've got more than enough, actual named plaintiffs in the case that they can't get rid of this legal issue. We have a legal issue that equal protection's already been ruled problematic. 3 readings rule still in play. And we've got more than enough real named plaintiffs that whether or not they might win or lose an argument about the association, it doesn't really change the substantive issues. I just don't want it to be a distraction. I don't want it to become a sideshow for when we start arguing the real big issues that need to get to our Supreme Court. Our Supreme Court needs to hear equal protection, 3 readings, these other procedural problems, our Illinois Supreme Court. That's what they need to hear. And I don't want them getting sidetracked on some list of people that thought they were joining a lawsuit that didn't end up joining a lawsuit that got listed. I just don't want that, guys. You understand where I'm coming from? I don't want it. It wasn't necessary. And again, it didn't further the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish, which is getting rid of this law. Furthered it in no fashion whatsoever, right? 0. That's why I raised the issue. And I raised it because people asked me to raise it. They wanted me to talk about it. So hope that answers your questions, you guys. I'll be back if I got more updates coming up. Ryan will be emailing you as well as there's more updates. And so I know who Todd Vandermite is. I talk to him often. So yes, is it Warsaw? I know. Yes, we talk a lot. He's a good man. He's very smart. He's very knowledgeable. He's very methodical in his approach, and I respect that about him because him and I are like that. He doesn't just fly off and do things without thinking it through in great detail because Todd understands the complexity of these issues and that you have to be very precise in order to maximize the opportunity of winning, which is all what we're trying to do. Maximize opportunities. If what we're doing is not increasing or promoting our success, then you shouldn't do it. Okay. And so I will be back. And I thought I saw a question. I'll be back. Talk to you guys later. Love you.